Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. So today I have a video reviewing the railgun. We'll be testing this new weapon out, testing its range, its damage, and just talking about whether it's worth it or not, and whether it is actually breaking the game. But anyways, let's start this video by talking about how to get the railgun. So to get the railgun, you actually need to go to Gun Van, and at the time of this video when I'm recording it, it's actually at this area. This is actually in that same area in the single player where you actually have the Kill Michael ending. It's actually right here. Now, the gun van spawns, it seems like, in the exact same area for everyone every day. So every real life day, it changes locations. This is basically like the Madame Nazar of GTA Online. This gun van is going to travel around to different areas. It spawns in different locations every real life day. The van is in one of 30 locations every day, and it's always in the same location for everyone every 24 real life hours. After that, it resets, but you only need to buy the railgun once and you'll have it forever. The railgun costs a normal price of $730,000, but you can get it for a discounted price of $562,100. And I actually don't know where this discount comes from. A lot of my friends got similar discounts, but we don't know where it came from. I tried looking it up. I wasn't able to figure it out either. I did a lot of testing with this weapon, but the one thing I wasn't able to figure out was where the discount comes from. So if somebody in the comments knows exactly where the discount comes from, let me know down below. I suspect maybe it's from that when players recommend you. Maybe it's also possibly from that. The ammunition, the rounds for it, for me, it's two rounds cost $900, but I believe that the normal amount costs $1,000. And then, max ammo on that is 20 rounds. But also, additionally, with this gun van lets you buy armors, lets you buy a few other weapons, lets you buy proximity mines, grenades, but also it lets you buy Molotovs, which actually you were not able to buy Molotovs before in ammunition. So let's talk about the range on this weapon. The range on it is pretty impressive, and I want to thank my friend Riley Blackfox and also GB for helping with this review. I will link their channel down below, and Riley also has her own separate review on the railgun. But anyways, you see my friend Riley right there in a laser jet, and she's actually coming closer towards me, and I'm just shooting to see eventually if the rounds will hit, and eventually they do. And also, right after she gets blown up, here's an angle from GB. You can see it when Riley gets destroyed by the railgun. So the railgun will destroy a vehicle like the laser in one shot. It does have pretty good distance, and later on I actually blow up GB's helicopter, so I'd say past 100 meters, you can kind of hit there, but that's the limit at that point. After that, you're not really going to hit anything. Additionally, this weapon is just great for taking out cops and other NPCs, so you can use this in any mission that you can in free mode. And you guys can see the range, and I'm just taking out cop cars with this thing. It does have, some travel time, so you have to compensate for that. So, where the target is going is where you're going to want to aim. And this weapon will take out pretty much every NPC car, NPC helicopter in one shot. Special vehicles, like vehicles that players use, custom vehicles for helicopters, jets, are a different story, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But when you want to take out a bunch of NPCs, take out NPC vehicles specifically coming towards you, I can see this weapon being very effective. You can easily get 5 stars with this weapon, no problem, and take down police helicopters easily. On top of that, I think it's better than the explosive sniper when it comes to dealing with NPC cars and helicopters, because it only takes one shot from it. And on top of that, you can get more ammo for this from the interaction menu, where the explosive sniper, you can carry 40 rounds, and you gotta keep going back to the terabyte. So yeah, I do think this weapon is extremely helpful against cops and other NPCs in free mode. Okay, now how about damage against players? Now this is where this gets a little bit weird. So in most cases, it's going to take out people in one shot. And for people wondering, you cannot auto-aim with this thing. I tested this in an auto-aim lobby, and I was actually scared that you were going to be able to lock on the people with this, but fortunately, you can't. And I actually think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that you can't lock on the people like to actually free aim with this thing. But anyways, as you guys see, in this part, I kill GB in one shot. There's a few times I kill him in one shot, but then other times I shoot him, and he survives. He gets back up, but he barely has any health. When he has armor on, he's going to survive. So whenever you have armor on, you're at full health, full armor. If you get shot with this thing, you'll survive with a little bit of health. If you don't have armor on, there's a small chance that you can survive, but it's rare. Most of the time, you will die in one shot. However, though, it's not the shot that actually kills you when you actually get hit by that. You'd think it's the shot. It's not. It's actually the fall. Because when you actually shoot them, you don't get the kill right away. Instead, they're actually alive. And they're alive for basically a second. But the second that they hit the ground after being knocked down is what actually kills them. So personally, I think it actually depends on the angle they fall at, maybe the height, but the height is very similar. So in the end, it's the fall that kills them, not even the shot. However, though, take a look at this. If you don't believe me on that, I shoot GB and look at his health very carefully here. He flips in the air, but he had his interaction menu open and he has snacks open. So if you shoot somebody who has snacks open and they fall like this, they actually can survive and heal themselves. However, though, most people aren't going to have enough time to open up the snack bar while they're dropped in midair. So just keep that in mind. It's generally 1 or 2 shots. Now, what about the Oppressor Mark II? Because a lot of people were calling this the Oppressor Mark II killer, which in my opinion, it's not. I don't think this thing can really beat an Oppressor Mark II. So I'm speeding this clip up right here. I asked my friend Riley to try as hard as possible to kill me, and she was able to kill me numerous times. I wasn't able to kill her once with the railgun. The thing about the railgun is that if it hits the Oppressor Mark II, it will destroy the Oppressor Mark II, no problem, but the problem is trying to hit the Oppressor Mark II. The Oppressor Mark II is such a small target, and even though they have a limited amount of missiles, 20, where you can just buy more from the interaction menu, it's just the missiles have a much bigger blast radius, where with the railgun, you have to be exactly precise. Had to hit the target exactly. So the only way that I can really see somebody hitting an Oppressor Mark II with this is if you're fighting somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. If they slow down a lot, then yeah, you could hit them. But if you're fighting somebody that knows what they're doing with the Oppressor Mark II, knows how to bomb the ground, you're in a lot of trouble. The Oppressor Mark II is going to kill you a lot of times, no problem. So you'd have to either be a god at aiming this thing, or you'd have to just get really lucky. That's just the way that I see it. I don't think this is the Oppressor Mark II killer that people have been asking for. So what would be a better weapon to take out the Oppressor Mark II? In my opinion, I think it's the Explosive Sniper, and I sped this clip up here because this battle lasts for nearly 5 minutes, but just to show you guys, the Explosive Sniper, even though it can only carry 40 rounds, and you have to go back to that terabyte each time, unlike the railgun where you can buy ammo from the interaction menu, the reason that I think this is the better weapon for taking out Oppressor Mark II is because more of its precision, easier to aim, and also on top of that, it's faster fire rate. And if you hit an Oppressor Mark II, hit the bottom of it, you know, chances are you won't destroy it. Might need to take 2 shots, but if you hit the driver is going to get knocked off right away. So I told my friend Riley here to try as hard as possible to kill me. And I did dodge a lot of her missiles. I did die a few times, but actually near the end of this clip, I actually do manage to knock her off and kill her with it. So I personally think, in my opinion, that if you get really good with the Explosive Sniper, get really good with timing, I think this is just a far better and more effective weapon at taking out the Oppressor Mark II than the railgun is. I also think there's another weapon that I'm going to show you guys in a little bit that I think is also pretty good at taking out the Oppressor Mark II. Is underrated. These weapons, I wouldn't call them a complete counter because the Oppressor Mark II, in my opinion, still has, you know, the advantage over you because just their speed and the radius of the explosion. But there are certain weapons that you can use to try to fight back against it, and this is one of them. So right here, fight's still going on a bunch, wasted nearly all my rounds, and then right when I'm about to hit her, I'm actually going to slow down the clip here, so you guys see it. But yeah, it was right when I was actually about to run out of ammo that I managed to hit the Oppressor Mark II. And so the best time to hit an Oppressor Mark II in those is right when they're about to dive bomb you. But here, you guys saw that right there, hit the Oppressor Mark II once, and speeding the clip up again a little bit here, and I actually only had 1 bullet left. Only 1 bullet left, and I actually managed to hit the Oppressor Mark II in that 1 bullet. I personally think the Explosive Sniper is just a much better, you know, weapon to use against the Oppressor Mark II than the railgun. But there's also the other weapon. So what is this other weapon that actually can sometimes beat Oppressor Mark IIs? That is the Up and Atomizer. It's a futuristic weapon that people oftentimes use to flip vehicles, but people don't actually think about using it to actually fight against Oppressor Mark IIs. Now, it's not easy. It's not something that's, you know, easy to take down Oppressor Mark IIs with. However, though, it doesn't matter where you hit an Oppressor Mark II, no matter where you hit them, it will always knock them off. And the primary reason why I think people don't use this against Oppressor Mark IIs is because it doesn't give you the kill. When you actually knock somebody off, they'll fall to their death if they're high enough, but it won't give you the kill. However, though, I don't really care about it giving me the kill. I care more about stopping them. And so if you hit somebody with this, like you guys see right here, I hit Riley when she was actually coming down this run. If you hit them, they'll actually fall right off the Oppressor Mark II, and then after that, you can just blow it up. Just blow it up, throw an explosive, and it's going to take them a little bit longer to call it in. But that's just personally what I think. I think Up and Atomizer and Explosive Sniper are just much more effective than the railgun. But what about other aircraft, like jets, for instance, jets and planes? Is this thing a problem? For pilots, I would say you don't really have to worry. A lot of people I know were concerned that this was going to be the jet and plane killer. I really don't think so. So we're doing a few other tests here. And here up first, we have my friend GB. And GB is an average pilot, and he's trying his best to kill me with the Pyro, which the Pyro is arguably the best jet in the game. But as you guys see right here, I'm also having a little bit of a hard time hitting GB. I do hit him once, and then eventually I hit him a second time and blow him up. So if you're a pilot that, really knows what they're doing, you don't really have to worry about this thing. The railgun takes at least 2 shots for most aircraft. There are a few that actually do take 1 shot, which I'll reveal in a little bit. But if you get hit with the railgun, you can just fly away and get away from the area. And to get hit by the railgun, you would have to be dive bombing somebody. You'd have to be bombing somebody on the ground. You don't really have to worry about somebody pulling out a railgun and shooting at you, it's a player that's in a public session, unless you're really dive bombing them. If you're just flying casually, it's going to be a much bigger threat to you. But anyways, here, coming up now, we have Riley. And Riley is trying to kill me, and she kills me a bunch of times with the Pyro. And the angle that she's flying at, she knows what angle she has to fly at. That players cannot aim a certain height, so they can't aim all the way up. And she knows that very well, and she knows the perfect angles to dive bomb me at and kill me. And I can't hit her. I can't. I actually gave up on trying to hit the Pyro. She killed me so many times, I just couldn't do it. Eventually, I gave up on it. But that's basically it. So for people worrying that this is going to be like some jet and plane killer, I personally don't think so. I actually am not a fan of the railgun. I actually don't think it should be in GT Online. It has nothing to do with its power. I just think it's too futuristic, but that's just my opinion. I don't want to, shove that on anyone. But I might make like a video talking about that and Oppressor Mark II. But this isn't like, something to really be concerned about. I wouldn't worry about that too much. But I just eventually give up. I just cannot kill Riley with this, and she just keeps killing me a bunch of times. But now let's take out the explosive sniper. So here I got the explosive sniper, and explosive sniper, reason I love this rifle so much, some people call it overpowered, but the reason that I love this rifle so much is because this rifle is pretty much a counter to jet griefers. If somebody's trying to kill you with any kind of jet, any kind of plane, they're trying to dive bomb you, this is literally the perfect weapon to use. And you guys see, I do eventually hit Riley. I do slow it down right here. I did hit Riley, and, her plane started smoking. And then eventually, I was struggling to kind of hit her a second time, but even though she was trying really badly to dodge, I did manage to get that shot on her. So explosive sniper is just the key. That's the weapon that you want to use when, you have somebody dive bombing you. The only argument I could see that the railgun would be better than the explosive sniper in certain situations is that railgun, you can constantly keep buying ammo from the interaction menu, where you can't do that for the explosive sniper. You got to go back to Terabyte. But I personally think explosive sniper is just way better. So basically, to sum it up, for pilots that were scared that this is going to be, jet and plane killer, I wouldn't worry too much about that. I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. That's just my opinion, but from the testing, you guys can see that also. I just don't think it's going to be that much of a problem as people are saying. And here, additionally, we have 2 more tests against other jets. We have the Laser and the Hydra. And so first up, we got GB flying the Hydra, and GB does kill me here, but eventually I do hit him, and I take him down. And the Hydra is actually a lot easier to take down than the Pyro, and the reason for that is because, first of all, it's less agile, but also because the missiles on the Pyro have just much greater range. The explosive cannon on the Laser and the Hydra does not have that much range, and so you got to get closer. And the Hydra, one thing that surprised me about it is it can take between 2 to 3 shots. So I did hit GB here. I believe I hit him 3 times. Hit him there once. His wing was heavily damaged. And these aircraft, even when you hit them once, at that point, they are actually pretty much disabled. Because when you hit them once, eventually the engine is going to give out. So there we go. Hit GB 3 times, and we got him. Next up here, we got Riley in a Laser. Now, the Laser I was actually very surprised by this. And this is one of the few speed tests that actually didn't speed up. And the reason for that was because it actually went by so fast. So Riley does kill me, but then eventually I just hit Riley here, and this is when she was flying towards the side, trying to get another angle on me. Again, it's not as agile as the Pyro, but it only takes only one shot to blow up the Laser. So if anything, you could use this, I guess, towards aircraft like Hydras and Lasers, but I personally think that the explosive sniper is just much more effective. Now, what about helicopters? Helicopters are actually a completely different story when it comes to this thing. And if anything, this weapon is actually going to piss off helicopter pilots. That's why it's important to test it against all types of aircraft. But anyways, first up, we have the Savage here. Now, the Savage is personally my favorite helicopter in the game. It's the helicopter that I've used to kill the most amount of people. But even with this thing, if you actually are at an angle where the Savage is having a hard time hitting you, you can take it down really quickly. Takes 3 shots, but after 1 shot, like I said, engine is eventually going to be disabled. Next up here, we got Riley in the Buzzard. And Riley was also trying to take me down. And it's the angle when the helicopter actually has to turn towards you. That's when it's the most exposed. Just one shot. That's it. It's really easy to take down. Other vehicles like, the a Hunter, for instance, and the Akula are going to take numerous shots. But it's also going to be pretty challenging to aim at somebody when they're firing this at you because you're going to be a pretty big target. You're going to be hovering at them. Not like a jet where you have to come in, where you're coming in quickly and fast. So here we got the Sparrow. Sparrow can spam, just as much homing missiles as they want. GB's in the helicopter. Even though Sparrow's a much smaller target, again, right when he's turning the helicopter, that's when I get him. So right when the helicopter's about to turn at an angle, that's when they're the most exposed. But what about against casual flyers? Now, what I mean by a casual flyer is I mean somebody who's just minding their own business, somebody who's just flying across the city, because most of the time when I actually get shot down, think about it, you'll probably agree with this, most of the time when you get shot down in an aircraft, it's because some idiot pulled out a homing launcher and was just attacking you for no reason, just flew by them, they decided to pull out a homing launcher, wanted to shoot you down. So how effective is this thing against somebody that's just flying, minding their own business, not even flying in your direction? So here, GB was flying a Maverick. Took a few shots, took a little bit of precision, but it's not that hard to hit a helicopter like the Maverick when it's flying past you. However, though, I asked him to then fly in a Sparrow and to fly as fast as he possibly could. It's minding their own business, getting across the map. Can this thing take down a Sparrow pretty quickly? And the answer is yes. It can take down a Sparrow. Like you guys saw earlier, it can take down in one shot. However, though, it gets very hard to take out a vehicle like the Sparrow when it's not flying in your direction, just flying away somewhere. Can be pretty challenging. I actually gave up trying to hit GB. He flew a number of runs. I actually couldn't hit him. So if you're flying like a decently fast aircraft, I really wouldn't worry about, people blowing you up with this thing unless you're flying something really slow and really low to the ground. If anything, fly higher up in a public session, and you shouldn't really have to worry about somebody. The only time you gotta worry about getting blown up in a helicopter with this thing, or even a plane, is if you're dive bombing somebody. If you're dive bombing somebody with a plane, or you're trying to bomb them with a helicopter, then yeah, you might want to worry about this thing. But even so, a lot of vehicles can take multiple shots. Some of the helicopters can't, but a lot of the planes and the jets can. So I wouldn't worry about this too much in those regard. So if you're a helicopter pilot, this thing is going to be a much greater threat to you than if you're a jet or a plane pilot, and you would have to be dive bombing somebody. If you're just casually flying over the map, I wouldn't worry that this is going to hit you. Somebody would have to be really precise, or they would have to be really lucky. And I wanted to test out one final thing here with the helicopters, and that was the homing launcher. Homing launcher is still the greatest threat to you. So GB wasn't going to be using flares or chaff, but I just told him to casually fly over this area and fly as fast as possible. He actually didn't know that I was going to be using a homing launcher. I wanted to see exactly how he would react, and even though he was trying his absolute best to outrun the missile, he couldn't, and the missile cut up to him and blew him up. So you can dodge homing missiles with a helicopter. It is a bit challenging to do. Sometimes, certain times, you can outrun them if you're flying fast enough, and it depends what helicopter that you're in, but homing launchers are still going to be the biggest threat to you. Most of the time when I get blown up when I'm in a helicopter, literally more than half of the time, it's from a homing launcher. So homing launchers, they're still literally the greatest threat to helicopters, but this thing, it can be annoying if you're fighting somebody on the ground that has it. And lastly, I wanted to do a damage test. I decided to choose the Buffalo STX. And the reason that I chose the Buffalo STX is because this is a vehicle that I've actually been griefed by a lot of times. And the reason that griefers use it is because you can't lock on to them. It's fast, and it's also armored. And so people will constantly teleport back to their apartment with a heist invite right when you're about to blow them up. And so how effective is this thing? Not really. It takes 9 shots in total to blow this up. So if it's not good against the Buffalo STX, it's really not going to be good against other armored vehicles on the ground. And here we got the Explosive Sniper comparison. Explosive Sniper, 10 shots to blow up. Now, even though Explosive Sniper takes 1 more shot, it's a faster fire rate. So if you start shooting at them with the Explosive Sniper, they're probably going to run away because they realize they're going to blow up soon. But if you shoot them with the railgun, they're not really going to be deterred. They're still going to try to kill you. And here at the end of the review, we have our pros and our cons. And the pros of this is its long range. It can hit what you're aiming at up to 100 meters and past that, but more than 100 meters, I think it can go a little bit farther than that, but not much more than that. But that's, pretty good distance for me. Being able to hit something really without a scope past 100 meters, I think that that's pretty good. So it does have really good range, at least for most weapons in this game, because a lot of weapons actually cannot go that far. Most weapons can actually go way beyond 100 meters in real life, but the point that I'm making is that a lot of guns in GT Online do not actually have that much distance. The bullet does disappear after some time. So it's great against NPC vehicles. It's not good on foot against foot NPCs. So if you're fighting combat against NPCs just on foot, it's not good. But if you're fighting like cop vehicles, like, coming at you, enemy helicopters, NPC helicopters especially, it's very effective. You can easily get 5 stars with this weapon, no problem. Another pro is it's not overpowered. A lot of people were getting scared that this was going to be, the jet killer, the plane killer, but it's not that. It can't lock on the players. Now, normally when something can't do something, typically that's a con. But in this case, I think that it's a pro, because I'm telling you guys, if this thing could lock on the players, that would be a massive problem. People would be abusing the hell out of this thing constantly. I play in free aim, so that wouldn't affect me that much, but I do care about also people who play in auto aim lobbies. So people would abuse the hell out of this in auto aim lobbies so much. And if this could lock on the vehicles, it would be even worse. And the cons are, it won't stop oppressors. Now, if this locked onto only oppressors, I would be fine with that. I would really have no problem if it could just lock onto oppressors, because I hate Oppressor Mark II griefers. It's just really annoying. But like I said, this thing isn't that effective against Oppressor Mark IIs. It's better if you use an explosive sniper or use the up and atomizer. I think that this thing is not that effective against it. The slow reload time and having to constantly compensate distance, where the up and atomizer you have to compensate distance kind of, but the explosive sniper you don't really have to compensate that much distance. And it's a slow reload. It takes a second or two to reload after each shot. It's not it's not a fast reloading weapon. And the cons are, it's terrible against armored land vehicles. So it's great against NPC vehicles coming at you, like I said, but if somebody's coming at you in an armored vehicle, like, somebody uses the Buffalo STX, which I tested against earlier, somebody uses that against you, that's very, very bad. You're not really going to get a kill on them. It's going to take a lot of shots. And like I said, because a vehicle like the Buffalo SDX is so fast, and you have to reload after each shot, you have to hit them precisely, free aim with this weapon, they're going to keep killing you. They're not really going to stop. If you use a weapon like the explosive sniper, you land a bunch of hits on them, chances are they're probably going to run away at that point, because they're scared about getting blown up. So I personally think it's a terrible weapon to use against any, armored land vehicles. It's not great against aircraft also, but I think that'll be more of a pro. I didn't know whether I should list that or not, but it's that's pretty much it for the weapon. I'm actually happy that it wasn't, overpowered like people thought it was going to be. But I'm going to wrap this review up with saying that even though, I don't really have that much of a problem with the railgun, I don't think it belongs in GT Online. It has nothing to do with its uses. It's just, for me personally, I don't think that a weapon like this belongs in the game. I just think that it's, too futuristic, and I think it just ruins the immersion in GT Online. That's just my opinion. I'm not just trying to shove that down anybody's throat. I didn't even add that in the pros and cons, because I don't think that's a legitimate pro and a con. That's just my view on it in the end. But let me know what you guys think of this weapon down below. Are you excited to use this? What do you think of it? Do you agree with me it's a little too futuristic, or are you fine with that? I always do my best to do as much testing as I possibly can. I have a lot of fun with these reviews. And again, I want to thank my friends GB and Riley. Without them, this review would not have been possible. Make sure to check out their channels. I will have their channels linked down below. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.